And a very good morning, good afternoon, depending on which time zone you happen to be in. Oh, we've been having some real big problems here since we moved to Denver, Colorado. So I want to really apologize for everything. We're having some broadband problems because of the additional time that we're putting on more shows and things of that nature. Again, I'm not that technically versed to be able to give you all the details on that, but it's been a mess. I think we have it pretty well straightened out. We'll find out as we go along. But anyway, thanks for listening. You're coming we're coming to you live. We're right here on the I-95 Sports and Entertainment Network. And of course, I'm Chris Pardo. Like I said, we're coming to you from Denver, Colorado. Got a lot to talk about today. We're going to talk about the Hall of Fame game tonight, kind of take a quick look at that and kind of see what's going on there as far as that's concerned, because of the big situation. But whether they're better or not, there's all different schools of thought on it. I just happen to be one that believes that. It's not really something you should get involved in. But if you have some action, just don't put a lot of money into it. Just use a few dollars here and there that you may have laying around that you want to use instead of putting up your regular amounts of money. So if you're like a $50 better, just bet $10, or something that just so that you have some kind of action. But we'll go into some great details to try to give you some analysis on that game coming up tonight. The Cowboys and the Pirates. I'll show you how screwed up we are here today. It's just been hectic. It's hard to explain all the things that have been going on here in Colorado, the Mile High City. But we're also got two games on tap as far as baseball is concerned. We got Pittsburgh against Cincinnati, Atlanta against the St. Louis Cardinals. We're going to take a close look at the line movement in those games and kind of tell you also what direction the pros are going in it as well, and bring you up to date as to how well or how bad the system happens to be working. So just to let you know, once again, you're listening to the Sports Wagering Zone. I know you may be surprised because we weren't on yesterday. We had some broadband problems. Tuesday, we kind of got cut off the air about 10 minutes into the show, but we kind of feel we got most of that pretty well straightened out. And hopefully it is, because we hate doing this anymore than you hate switching on and finding out that we're not on. So again, please accept our apologies here, and I hope you'll continue to listen to the show and tell your friends about it as well. In the meantime, of course, we do come to you live. We're on the I-95 Sports and Entertainment Network. We're also on most of your major podcast platforms, such as Spotify or Apple Podcasts, and many, many more. So that's the story as far as that's concerned. Anyway, so let's take a look at what happened yesterday in Major League Baseball. The favorites, they went 12-3 yesterday, loud and clear. The only upsets were the Royals, plus 230 against the White Sox. The Cubs were a plus 158 on the money line against the Rockies. The Phillies were a plus 100 against the Nationals. And those were the three big upsets for yesterday. The favorites still lead this season, just a little over 58%. And of course, yesterday the overs went 9-6, and they improved their slim lead to a little over 50% as well. And just a note about the Olympics, I know we haven't been following it. I'm not a real big fan of most of the Olympic sports. With all the drug stuff going on and everything else, everybody's cheating, doing all kinds of things. Who cares? So I watch it for some entertainment or something, and that's about it. But basketball, of course, that's America's sport. The U.S. men's basketball team beat Australia yesterday, 97-78. That was the semifinal round. They were down by 15 points in the first half. And if you happen to bet on that game, by the way, okay, USA ended up covering as a 12-point favorite in that game. And of course, the total, it stayed under 180 and a half. So that's what's going on as far as the Olympics are concerned and everything that happened yesterday. But today is another day. It's a big day in football, the first day that we're finally going to see some semblance of football. Not going to see the big quarterbacks in there or maybe any of the key players. They're probably going to be sitting on the bench taking their time, watching what's going on so they don't get hurt. In the meantime, everyone else will be in there as well. So we're going to be talking about that. We're going to talk about the effect that the injury to Wentz had to do with the Colts because the numbers have changed. We're going to go over that as well. And of course, we're also going to talk about the two baseball games we have on tap today as well. Pittsburgh against Cincinnati and Atlanta against the St. Louis Cardinals. So let's get back and take our first break. As you know, if you've listened to the show before, we do take 3 breaks within the show. Each one is of a 1 minute duration. So, just to give you an idea, we will be back into the sports wagering zone in 1 minute. Welcome back to the Sports Wagering Zone. I'm Chris Pardo. Thank you very much for listening. And once again, I just want to really apologize for what's been going on lately. We made that big move from Charlotte over here to Denver, Colorado, moved the family, trying to find a place to live and things of that nature. And of course, things kind of fell behind. And then, of course, then once we thought we had everything pretty well settled, broadband situations came up, and that was another problem. But think, I think we've got this pretty well taken care of. We should have pretty not smooth sailing yet. There's probably going to be a little bump in the road along here somewhere along the way. But again, I just want to take this time to apologize for it, and I just trying to do the best we can here, trying to get things done, and I think maybe by the end of the weekend, I think we should be hitting on all 8 right now. We're a little discombobulated. We got all kinds of reports coming in, things of that nature, trying to keep up with everything else and the technical difficulties we've been having. So again, thank you very much for listening, and I please take my apologies, and I hope it won't happen again. In the meantime, let's take a quick look at some things that have happened as far as injuries are concerned. The Indianapolis Colts, they came into this off season, and we talked about them, and everybody's been talking about them, how their roster is loaded. They have very high expectations that they're going to go a long way this year. But over the past week, not only have we had problems, but they had bigger problems than we have. They've been hit with a string. I mean, a whole bunch of bad breaks. First of all, their head coach, Frank Reich, tested positive for the COVID. Then a pair of foot injuries. Quarterback Carson Wentz got hurt. Their star lineman, Quentin Nelson, got hurt. They're going to be out for anywhere from 5 to 12 weeks. And understand, a little over 4 weeks from now, the season will actually start. Now, following the news, what happened, of course, the market reacts to the news. The Colts saw their win total shift. The win total was 9.5. And if you had 9.5, the over was minus 150. So that dropped down to 9, with the under being minus 130. So I show you what direction they're going in. The Colts moved from being a plus 100 favorite to win the AFC South to now being a plus 190 underdog. So in week one, the Colts have moved from being -3 to a +3 against the Seahawks on that first game of the season. So kind of keep a close eye on that one. If you made an early bet on that game, you're going to be sitting there with that 3-point underdog favorite, but 3-point favorite, in other words, you could do one or two things. You could come back and come in on the other side, or just kind of live with it and hope that they, in spite of what's happened, they still win the game for you as well. So, anyway, that's what's been happening there. But of course, it just doesn't happen to one team. It just kind of snowballs in a direction, okay? And the biggest beneficiary of this total misfortune that's befallen the Colts, okay, are probably the Tennessee Titans because they're entering the fourth year under their head coach, Mike Vrabel. Now, so far, he's been 9-7 and 9-7. And then last year, he was 11-5, which is his best year yet. So now he's coming into his fourth year with those kind of past year numbers. Now, this year's win total was originally set at 9 with the over juiced to -140, which signaled another successful campaign was on its way. Now, following the Wentz news, the Titans win total has now been juiced up to over -160. So you're going to see that one possibly go to 9.5 before long. Now, if the Titans' action continues to come in, like I said, the number may go to 9.5. It might even go as high as 10, depending on how much money does come in their direction. So if you kind of like the Titans, you may want to jump in on it right now before whatever the value that's there, even though you have to lay -160 on the money line, you may want to get involved in it now because it's just going to be more. It's going to be higher. Yeah, the juice is going to be lower, but you're going to have an extra half a point to add to it. Now, Tennessee has shifted. They were a +110 dog to win the division, and now they're a -130 favorite. So now, if you did play them ahead of time, you're sitting there good because you're at a +110 as the dog, and now their chances of winning it have definitely improved. The Titans boast the most continuity, and they have the most talent on offense of any team that's in that division. Their quarterback is Ryan Tannehill. Their running back, of course, is Derrick Henry. They got wide receivers, A.J. Brown and Julio Jones is on the team now. So you can see Tennessee can also feast on the Jaguars, whose total is 6.5 as a win total. And then the Texans, who have a 4-win total. Now, unless the Colts can coax Philip Rivers out of retirement and back under center, it looks like this could be the year the Titans win the division so far. That's the way it looks right now. Anything is liable to happen in the days ahead. Anyway, that's the story as far as any changes. You have to understand when something like that happens, the market reacts right away. The sports books, they understand what it's all about, and they start making their moves long before anything else happens so that they don't get caught with their pants down and they're on the losing end of a proposition. So again, depending on how you got into it originally, those are the new numbers now. If you're looking to do some business, now's the time to do it with the Colts. Tennessee, again, if you want to lay a little juice, pick up an extra few dollars, you can also bet on them to go ahead as well. So let's take that second break. That's mostly what we're going to talk about as far as that's concerned. When we come back, we want to talk about the two games we have on tap for you today. You got Pittsburgh against Cincinnati, and you have Atlanta against the Cardinals. Just two games for today. So let's take a break. We'll be back in 1 minute. Welcome back. You're back in the sports wagering zone. I hope we got our broadband situation kind of settled, that we're actually going over the various platforms and you're able to listen to the show. I certainly hope so. But again, I said it a couple of times already. I totally apologize. I'm hoping we get everything pretty well straightened out. We'll do some more work on it today, tomorrow, and of course, when we get into the weekend, and then we'll be ready to go maybe full speed ahead, maybe Saturday or Sunday even. So it's trying to go in that direction. The guys are telling me that they got most of the stuff pretty well covered, and of course, we'll see how this show turns out today. If the whole thing went over and went from start to finish without any interruptions, then I think we got the broadband situation kind of settled, and then we'll kind of go from there. Anyway, let's take a look at the two baseball games on tap for today. And then when we get done with those, we're going to come back and talk about the game tonight between the Steelers and the Cowboys. So we have a 7 o'clock game. The Pittsburgh Pirates are 41-67, playing the Cincinnati Reds, who are 57-51. So let's take a look at the line movement in these games and try to get an idea as to which direction the pros are going. Now, these are two division rivals. And if you take a look, you follow what they've been doing so far, you know they're at opposite ends of the Central Division as far as the standings are concerned. Our friends in Pittsburgh are dead last. They're 23 and a half games in back of the Brewers. The Pirates are 3-7 over their last 10 games. In the meantime, the Reds, well, they're in second place. They're just 7.5 games behind the Mets. The Reds are just 4 games back of a wild card spot also. Cincinnati is 6-4 over the last 10 games. Now, in tonight's opener, Pittsburgh comes out with their right-hander, Will Crowe, who is 3-5 with a 5.40 ERA. Cincinnati comes back with their veteran right-hander, Sonny Gray, who is 3-6 with a 4.26 ERA. Now, the line opened with the Reds listed as a big minus 215 as a home favorite on the money line. The Pirates, they're a plus 195 as a road dog. Now, the pros don't seem to be bothered or scared off by that big chalk number, and they keep betting on Cincinnati. That moved up the number from opening of 215 up to being a minus 230 on the money line. So if you're looking to bet on Cincinnati in this game, you're going to be laying a lot of wood. Remember this, though. Home favorites, minus 200 or more, are at 71% this season as far as a win percentage is concerned. Now, if they're coming off a win, like the Reds are in this game, they improve to 72%. Cincinnati is 32-24 as a favorite. The Pirates are 36-63 as a dog. Now, Cincinnati is going to look to outslug the Pirates as far as hitting is concerned. They're hitting at 252 as a team, which is sixth best in the league. The Pirates are hitting a lowly 236, which puts them at the number 18 spot. The Reds are 5-1 against the Pirates so far this season. So in this game, if you take a look at it, if you're looking to bet, keep in mind the pros are on the Cincinnati Reds. But if you're going to go along with them on this one, I'm just going to tell you one thing. You're going to be laying a lot of wood to cover. Meanwhile, at 8 o'clock, a little after 8 o'clock, you've got the Atlanta Braves against the Cardinals. The Braves are 54-54, right at 500. Cardinals are just a notch below at 53-54. The Braves, they took the first 2 games of this series. They won the opener 6-1. They were minus 130 road favorites in that game. And they won again yesterday 7-4. And they were 108 on the minus line as road favorites. So don't look now, but Atlanta has now won 3 of their last 4 games. And they only trail the Mets by just 2.5 games. The Braves are a plus 275 on the money line to win the National League East at BetMGM. So you might want to take a look into that if you're interested. In tonight's finale, the final game of the series, Atlanta comes in with Touki Toussaint. He's 1-2 with a 4.76 ERA. Cardinals, they come back with their left-hander, Wade LeBlanc, who's 0-1 with a 3.15 ERA. Now, as we look at the line in this game, it opened at just about as a pick 'em. Both sides were minus 105 on the money line. Now, in this game, the public split, but the pro money has really sided with Atlanta to complete the sweep, driving the Braves up from being a minus 105 up to minus 115. Now, short road favorites, that's being minus 150 or less. And if you're coming off of a win, are at 59% so far this season. If you were just looking at those type of games, you would have produced roughly plus 12 units, okay, so far this season. Now, Atlanta's going to also rely on their hitting as well. The Braves added Jorge Soler, Adam Duvall, and Eddie Rosario to the deadline. They're hitting 243, which ranks them 13th in Major League Baseball. The Cardinals are hitting at 234, which ranks them 22nd. Keep one thing in mind. Atlanta is 5-1 against St. Louis so far this season. So if you like this game and you want to bet along with the pros, they are on the Braves. Minus 115 is not a bad number to pay as far as going on the money line is concerned. But as you look at that first game we talked about between the Reds and the Pirates, the pros are on the Reds, but there you're looking to lay at least a minus 230, maybe even more on the money line. So in the first game, the pros are on the Reds. In the second game, the pros are on the Braves. Now, just to give you an idea as to what happened yesterday, we weren't on the air yesterday because of the broadband situation. We were on, but it wasn't going anywhere. We had 3 plays yesterday. Seattle against Tampa, Boston against Detroit, and the Angels against the Rangers. In the first game, we had Tampa over Seattle. They won, so that's a win. Boston against Detroit. In that game, we had Detroit, and that's a loser. And then we had the Angels against the Rangers, and that was a winner as well. So yesterday, we had 3 plays, 2 winners, 1 loser. So far, in the month of August, we've had 12 plays altogether. 6 wins, 6 losses. Right now, that little method, that system, whatever you want to call it, is right at 50%. So that's the story as far as baseball is concerned for today and tonight. And we're going to take our final break. When we come back, we're going to take a close look and try to analyze what's going on, what may go on in tonight's game as far as the Hall of Fame football game is concerned. But the one good thing is it is football. So even if you're not betting it, just sit back, relax, and enjoy football for the first time since way back in February. So anyway, that's the story. Let's take that final break and we'll be back in 60 seconds. And welcome back. Welcome back to the Sports Wagering Zone. I'm Chris Pardo. Thank you very much for listening. I think we finally may have gotten most of the stuff out of the way as far as all those little gremlins that have been kind of interfering with the show for the past 4 weeks, 3.5 weeks, whatever. So I think we got most of it straightened out, and hopefully everything will be going a little more smoother starting tomorrow anyway. I'm Chris Pardo. We're here, we're coming to you live on the I-95 Sports and Entertainment Network. We're here on in Denver, Colorado, the Mile High City. And of course, we're podcasting on most of the podcast platforms as well, such as Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, you name it, we're on most of them as well. Now, let's take a look at tonight's game. It's not the Super Bowl or it's not even a regular season kickoff game, but we're getting there. But the NFL Hall of Fame game, it kind of holds a special place in the hearts of most of the fans, especially the bettors for some reason or other. Because what it means is we're back to football. Regardless of how meaningless the results are or how unprofessional the effort may seem at times, it's just one of those things. Hey, it's back. It's back. So it's going to come back. It's going to get better. Although you may not admit it, most of us are actually anticipating tonight's game between Dallas and Pittsburgh. Believe it or not, get a lot of emails on it, talking to people out on the street. They're really looking forward to this game tonight, even though it means nothing. Okay. We're especially eager because the entire 2020 exhibition season wasn't there, because most of us are actually going to place a fun wager on the game. So that's what's going to happen more than likely. Don't go crazy with it. Bet $10, bet $20, bet something real low. So why not make your best efforts to win that bet if you're going to bet? So we're going to look at some historical game information. It might help you go in which direction as to who wins or who's going to cover and which way the total winds up, because you can also bet on that as well. Because I looked at the results of Hall of Fame games going back to 2000, okay? Betting lines and totals. The 2020 game was canceled, as we know. The 2016 game was spiked due to poor field conditions, and the 2011 matchup was missed again because of the lockout. Now, these games are played on a neutral field. It's in Canton, Ohio, explaining why most of the favorite lines have always been small in these games. Also, the starters typically they play maybe no more than one series, if any at all. So you're going to get lower totals. So if you're new to betting the game, if you're new at this, keep these thoughts in mind. Here are some trends and some of my observations as to what's been going on. Favorites have won the last four Hall of Fame games, going 2-1-1 against the spread. They're also 12-3 straight up, 9-4-2 against the spread, going as far back as 2002. Now, in recent Hall of Fame games, matching the AFC against the NFC, the AFC teams have won the last two games outright, but the NFC teams are 5-2 straight up, and they're 6-1 against the spread going back to 2008. Now, under the total has converted in 6 of the last 8 Hall of Fame games. Under the total and the under 6 out of the last 8 games. In the 7 Hall of Fame games since 2003, in which the line has moved off the opening number toward the favorite is 5-1-1 against the spread. Now, the Cowboys are 3-0 in these games, all since 2010, but they're 14-25 in all other exhibition games that are being played. So they do very, very well in this game, not as well as in the other games that are coming up. Pittsburgh has played in the Hall of Fame game twice since 2007, and they split. They're 1-1. Now, keep something else in mind. Both teams are coming off you would call disappointing seasons, to say the least. The Steelers won their first 11 games, if you remember. Then they had a 1-5 finish that kind of resulted in a home playoff loss to the Browns. Now, Dallas played some really explosive games early before Dak Prescott got hurt, okay? And they finished 6-10 in Mike McCarthy's very first season. This is season number 2 for him. Now, Pittsburgh has lost some offensive line talent over the offseason, but they start a new running back with former Alabama star Najee Harris. So, quarterback Ben Roethlisberger, he's probably not going to play. He's undergone a body transformation. He looks like he lost some weight. He looks a little more athletic than he did a year ago. Now, his replacements are Mason Rudolph and Dwayne Haskins. Both of them have been NFL starters. Now, the Cowboys are going to be saving Prescott for later in the preseason. Cooper Rush, Garrett Gilbert, and Ben DiNucci, who have combined for just 90 passes and 1 touchdown in their NFL careers, will probably be taking the snaps against the Steelers. So, with the line having opened at Pittsburgh by 1 and moving to 1.5, I believe the pros may be onto something with this particular move going to 1.5. Bettors have been good when moving the line toward favorites in the Hall of Fame game. So look for Tomlin's Steelers. Try to quickly flush the bad mojo that came late last season and try to get some revenge on his only Super Bowl loss. He lost 1 Super Bowl, and the coach of that team was McCarthy when he was with Green Bay. So there are some reasons, some thoughts and ideas as to who you should bet on today. It kind of looks like most of the situations seem to be pointing toward the Steelers in this game. But like I said before, don't put a lot of money into it. Just put, 10, 15, or whatever, again, if you're $1,000 bettor, I'm not putting you aside or anything. I'm just saying, whatever it is you're betting, why go crazy? Anything can happen. You got quarterbacks who, haven't started that many games, haven't thrown that many touchdown passes, so everything is kind of up in the air. The slightest mistake here or there can change the whole outcome of the game. So if you want some action, go along with it. Just put a token something down so that you can say, well, I had it anyway, so that if you win, you can feel good that you did pick that one right. Okay. So that's the story for today. Once again, a rundown on the 2 baseball games on for today. The Pittsburgh Pirates against Cincinnati. The pros are on Cincinnati, and Atlanta against the Cardinals. The pros are on Atlanta. One thing to keep in mind in that Cincinnati game, if you take Cincinnati, you're going to be laying a lot of wood. So that's the story there. So once again, thanks for listening. Again, we're very, very sorry that we've had some problems. Hopefully we got most of them taken care of and out of the way. We'll be back again tomorrow at 1 o'clock Eastern time. That's another thing. We had to change our time slot over to 1 o'clock Eastern time, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, because again, the broadband situation is just too full in that hour before that we used to come on. So we'll be back again tomorrow at 1 o'clock in the afternoon Eastern time. Saturday and Sunday, we're still here at 9 a.m. Eastern time. Those are the stories for today. Looks like the Steelers may be the pick. We're also looking for Cincinnati and Atlanta in baseball as far as the pros are concerned as well. Deal with the information as you see fit. I hope you do very, very well. In the meantime, have a very, very pleasant Thursday. We'll be back again tomorrow. And if you're betting today, if you're betting that game today, I certainly hope you have a profitable Thursday as well. So until tomorrow at 1 o'clock Eastern time, I'm Chris Pardo. Hopefully, we'll be back again tomorrow at that time, right here on the I-95 Sports and Entertainment Network and most of the major podcast platforms. Thanks for listening. Goodbye, everybody. Hopefully, we'll be here tomorrow. Goodbye.